Learning maps ask the children how they currently learn, who helps them and how they help them. And in some cases, kids have never thought about that before or never been asked to think about that before.
So you get quite a lot of people in your house reading with you?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Kids are incredibly capable of showing us the nature of the interactions with their teacher, with their mum and dad, with their friends in their learning environment.
We're looking to see, what is happening, how are kids learning, how can we build on that?
And then when they've identified those interactions, they need to think about how would I want to change that picture so my learning is progressed quicker, and sometimes learning would be more enjoyable for me and I'd be more active in my learning.
We want to shift kids and families from passive receivers of what educators have designed for them to active participants in their learning environments.
We're asking the students to talk about their own practice and their own learning and their own style and what they do. And this is what's captured in the map. Quite different than asking a student how they like to be taught. It's actually asking them how they learn.
Okay.
You can have a conversation with a parent and a child and a teacher with a learning map, and there is no jargon because the child is talking about their learning in their language, and so everyone understands what's going on.
This is me. This is you. This is the school, Rata Street.
So how come these ones have like two-sided arrows and some only have like one?
That means you've been helping me, but I didn't get a chance to help you back.
Often we're pleasantly surprised at how quickly children can get things down on paper about how they learn and who helps them to learn. We have various prompts that can help them to then articulate that to someone else. One of the most effective ways is buddying them up with another student, and that student is an active listener.
Do you want to go deeper in your learning? Oh, yes.
They say, I don't quite get that. Or, can you tell me what that arrow means? That conversation that they have with each other builds their capability in being able to articulate their learning.
It's quite exciting to have someone else talk to you about your map, and you have to articulate it more deeply because you can't assume that person knows everything. And then conversely, it's nice to talk back in class with your teacher or your friend because they do know things. So I think the contrast is interesting and it's energising and it enhances being able to talk and think about your learning.
And this is my current teacher. She helps me, I help her.
The process itself manufactures a situation where parents come into the school environment and work with their children on their learning goals from their learning maps. It's a very supportive conversation with the kids about learning. In a safe environment where they are contributing and listening and developing a real learning partnership. The teachers are there as well, and when timely, the teacher might join that three-way conversation, and they both have an opportunity of entering into the system how they're going to support their children. It's a forward step for families to be able to engage in true, authentic learning conversations with kids.
Other initiatives were top-down. Facilitators would work with leaders, leaders would work with teachers, teachers would work with students. This initiative prompts all the people within the school environment to design the work and their part in it at the front end.
The first time we did learning maps, we picked out priority learners of certain areas and they drew their maps. Then we worked with the teachers and then we brought the kids' maps and the teachers' maps together. And the first thing you'd notice is that what the teachers thought was happening in class wasn't happening for the learners in that way. And so that was quite eye-opening for the teachers.
Straight away they could see that they needed to do something differently. When we came back to do the second maps, there was significant changes to the arrows going back to the teacher because the student now had quite a lot more say in what learning was happening.
We're trying to pull out their capabilities, their strengths, and figure out where they're at and what their next learning steps are.
You want to get better at maths and you're good at maths, so you're going to be able to help them. If you look at the map in relation to what it is you're trying to change, that makes it a lot easier. The kids see that at the moment there's no arrows going from me. I'm not using technology, I'm not talking with the teacher, I'm not talking with my peers. Everything's coming into me. We then look at the learning map and think, what can you do differently? And that's where you get, I want to ask questions when I don't understand, or I want to use a range of resources to help me with this.
If you've had generational failure in your family around schooling, to be given the opportunity to say what you think about your learning and be heard is a massive difference. That confidence, not just in yourself but with your peer group, grows confidence to explore and push your boundaries out even more and create some momentum that these kids haven't had.
When we first did the learning maps, one of the things that we found was that the kids were learning from each other, and we thought that was really exciting until we talked about that. And the kids would say, oh yeah, if I don't get it, I ask him the answer, or I get him to do it for me if I can't do it. So it wasn't really deep learning, it was really just getting the task finished. And so the teacher's very explicit with the kids about saying, how do we learn from each other? What do we do? And when we did the maps the second time round, that was one of the comments that came through from quite a few of the kids is, I did have an arrow there first, learning from each other, but really we weren't learning, we were only telling each other the answers. Whereas now, they give me some strategies that might be able to help me.
One of the strengths of the learning map is its flexibility to be embedded into school processes. It can't be right or wrong because it's just how things stand at the moment. We're able to identify from that some really strong relationships that the children have, and then we can help them develop a goal based on strengths and also be responsive to their needs.
Seeing how the kids placed technology in the classroom was massive because all the arrows to the technology went via the teacher. So they had to ask the teacher permission or it was a reward. The opportunities were very limited. Teachers seeing that straight away realised they had to change their thinking, which had a massive impact. We then put a whole lot of technology in classes to support learning.
Once the children have drawn their learning map, we want to capture that in a digital form so it remains a living document, so the children can refer to it, the teachers can refer to it, and the families can refer to it.
Parents can have a look at home if they didn't get to the meeting. They can re-look at it at school, they can share it with people at school. They're going to be able to compare things as time goes on much easier.
It explains who teaches me stuff.
The families and the teachers can look at the learning goal that they've set, and then they can figure out what are they going to do themselves to support their child or their student to learn.
Parents had a lot of ideas about how we could make our school accessible and useful for them to support their children in their learning.
Traditionally, the definition of parents being engaged in a school would be that they were present, they might have a good turnout to the school concert. Schools would run maths evenings and reading evenings and writing evenings, sometimes with very little response, especially from those parents that you really wanted to get here. The learning maps gives you an opportunity for it to be truly about learning. Because if the child can talk to their parent about that learning map and the parent understands that conversation, they can talk about that with the teacher at the school as well.
Many parents see the school as the place where the students learn, and so valuing their role in it is really important. Listening to what their kids are saying about their learning, for some of them is quite enlightening. They hadn't realised some of those things that are happening, and so that's pretty exciting as well. And for them to contribute and say, this is how I'm going to help you with your learning, is empowering for the parent, and it's very exciting for the child because the child then sees that they've got the teacher helping them, they've got themselves being active in this, and they've got the parents.
The learning maps have really helped engage parents in developing a learning relationship with the school. This process has given an opportunity to find out what do the parents want to learn. And an example of that was a school where the parents said, could you please tell us about what sort of feedback we should be giving our children so we're helping with their learning.
Major encouragement first, make them feel good about their work.
There is definitely a difference in the maps after a year of talking about being an active learner. What I noticed in my above kids is that they could see that everyone could help them learn, whereas some of those learners who are still learning to be successful in lots of subjects could see people that were important in places that were important but didn't see it everywhere as much as probably those other kids could.
First and foremost, the children we worked with were our priority learners, so they were students who were struggling with learning, and those children have made significant progress. We have national standards data that sits alongside the changes in the learning maps, and there's about a 24% shift for these students. As we move on with the project, and now it's not just limited to priority learners, we've noticed that all children are making significant progress in their learning.
In the beginning of the year, when I get stuck, I just let it go and start talking, but now when I get stuck, I find a way to solve the problem.
Connecting learners who are struggling in their learning is really important because they're probably not connecting at the same level as kids who are highly successful in learning. So manufacturing connections so that they are learning laterally off each other is really important.
Leaders come to us and ask us, can we work in depth in their schools and support with the learning maps in the classroom, with the students. Others want us to work with some key teachers across networks of schools, which is equally effective. And we can also, in that model, visit the schools and give feedback. We've had networks across a curriculum area like literacy. We've had networks around mathematics, but we've also had networks of people who've been working on future-focused learning. We've had networks who've got together because they have a concern about a particular group of students. So lots of different ways within networks and with families and with students.
The maps are like looking into a child's head. We can see what's happening for those learners and what you need to be talking to learners about. You can make those things clear straight away because you've seen where the strengths are and what the gaps are, and so those learning conversations that need to happen can happen really quickly.
It's such a rapid inroad into deep, honest conversations that immediately get on to change priorities that are important. We're now talking about hours, days and weeks of creating changes that used to take years. It's a massive shift.